Welcome to Flame On. I am Bryan. I'm back with my rainbow spotlight. Yes, it is stolen from Race Chasers. I know we talk about this a lot on the show, but yes. I am back with our interview series thanks to a very exciting project that I hear with two lovely individuals to talk about. I will say welcome to Don Gaddis, writer, artist extraordinaire, and Zan Christensen, publisher from Northwest Press. Welcome to Flame On.
Hello.
Thank you. Hello. Good to
And
be here.
Yay. Well, we're glad to have you. And I mean, I wish the timing was a little like last week, but as things happen, and we're all last minute around here.
Right.
And I'm just glad we caught you before your Kickstarter ended. And this is so cool. First of all, let's give some background and then I'll get to the Kickstarter. We'll tease that a bit. We have followed the adventures of Northwest Press for many years. Zan here is a dear friend and now fellow Seattle. Well, I am now a fellow Seattleite neighbor of his. But Zan, do you want to just give a quick, like, for those who are just tuning in, like, what is Northwest Press? And then we'll lead into Don's exciting project.
Well, I'll just say the short story is that I've just been involved in queer comics fandom and stuff for long time. And when I was doing nonprofit work and community work, people kept asking, can you publish my book? And I would say, well, we don't publish books. We just help people who are already published authors. So I started to start a publishing company when my friend John Macy had an erotic novel adaptation, Teleny and Camille, finished, but he couldn't get a publisher for it. There it is. He couldn't find a publisher for it. And so I realized that, especially for stuff that is maybe a bit more serious, a little less episodic, a little more kind of weighty, there wasn't a whole lot of room for it in the world because comics people didn't know what to do with the gay stuff and vice versa. So that was 2010. That was the first book. Since then, we published, like 36, I think, something like that, over the last 10 years. The last book we did was in 2020, which was Dash, the collection of that mysterious Zeta Makara, the Dash noir supernatural, oh my God, this is insane adventure. And then have been kind of quiet. It's been a weird time to be in the world. And so we said, well, we'll just see what's going on. But Don had this great pitch that he mailed to me, like in the postal mail, for his book. And I was kind of captured by it. And we got to talking and decided to move ahead with it. It's a really difficult and really beautiful and really moving, kind of harrowing kind of book. But it's done in such a loving way, and it's kind of gives you a look inside these characters' lives. I was immediately taken.
Wow. So, I mean, we've talked about Northwest Press a lot. So thank you for that. And just as a reminder for those who've forgotten, but like, I love the idea that a story like the Dons, which we're about to tell you about, captured your interest. And you're like, Northwest Press is coming back into action to fulfill this purpose and share this delightful story. And I love that. I love that resurrection. You are like, Northwest Press is like the phoenix of queer publishing.
Hopefully not the dark phoenix.
Well,
go consume any star systems.
Well, so Don, so tell me about your side of this story. Like, where did you encounter Northwest or Zan, and how did you decide, hey, I want to tell this story, which for the listeners is called A Home Without. Let me actually, I'll share a picture from it in just a second after you set it up. But yeah, tell us about the genesis of that and then how you decided to pitch to Zan.
Okay. Well, I had been to it was a random comic book store in St. Louis. My partner and I were visiting a friend, and we saw some copies of Shirtlifter. And then I was like, okay, well, I think I remember seeing Zan out at San Diego at some of the comic book conventions. It seems like I remember him from panels for Prism Comics and Northwest Press. And so I was like, okay, this might be a good person, for me to, pitch the book to. But anyway, oh yeah, there's the Kickstarter feed. I had started the book a little bit before the pandemic. It probably took me about 2.5 to 3 years to go through and illustrate it. I had actually started the script many years ago when I was going to school at SCAD. I was going for a BFA, a sequential art degree. So that was probably like 2004, 2005. It's a heavily autobiographical book about a young gay boy who helps his mother through a troubled marriage. But around it was 2005. I was probably about halfway through the script, and my father passed away, and one of the characters is heavily based on him, and so I think it was just too close to heart at that time. So I kind of I put it aside, and then I followed other ventures. Like I did work for Bruno Gamunder for a little while. I did various magazine publications. I wrote a prose novel. I started 2 webcomics. And then, the pandemic started to happen. And I was like, okay, I had this script that I put away. I don't need to just let that, kind of die. So I pulled that out, and yeah, it was about 2.5 years, but it took me to get through that. It's a hard book at times. There are times of great humor. There's one moment where River, the little boy in the story, he's dancing on top of his bed. He thinks he's alone. He's jamming out to Cyndi Lauper, She Bop. And his sister walks in on him. And of course, this actually happened in real life, except I think in real life it may have been Delirious by Prince. My sister walked in on me on it. I was kind of jamming out on my bed. But I definitely think that everybody can identify with, that's one thing that everybody can identify with. We all have that moment of, you're dancing with yourself, to quote the Billy Idol song. That was probably a long-winded answer. Sorry for that.
No, that was actually great. That was actually, while you were saying that, I found the art from that page, and I wanted to pull that up real quick because I did see that in the Kickstarter, and I was so taken by that lovely little just moment from childhood, because we've all been there, done that, have that moment. And I mean, it's certainly not clear from that picture alone, like that they're about to be interrupted or have been witnessed. But so this is an autobio fiction, and I quickly understood, okay, so it's from an autobiographical perspective, and with, I'm sure, as you sort of alluded, some real things that motivated, but it is entirely fictional. So what kind of drove you to that kind of genre, and then what made you decide, you know what, I want to do this all myself? Like, I really have this great idea, but I need to keep it close. I need to just do it, so you can really tell it. So what kind of drove you to those decisions creatively?
As I mentioned to Zan previously during our talks, one of the first autobiographical comics that I had read was Blankets by Craig Thompson, and that was probably back in 2003. Before then, I had I'd read superhero comics, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that first black and white series, which I still love to this day. I had read The Crow, but then I got to Blankets, and I was like, wow, okay, this can be a thing, and this would be a really great way, to be able to tell a story. Not only, can you write it, but visually you can convey it. It's pretty close to being able to make a movie. So that's what got me started on that path. And then I think at some point, Alison Bechdel's Fun Home came along, and that really started to take me further down that path of doing a slice of life book of my own, and I really wanted to get in there and tackle emotional subjects. I wanted to read the book that I wasn't necessarily, seeing on the shelves, and tell it from the perspective of an outsider, because I'm sure there are lots of young gay people out there who are going through bad situations at home, and I very much knew that they could identify with this. So that's mainly where I was coming from in the creative process of it.
And then, doing it yourself, telling it like, visually and the script, was that a, you wanted a specific style that you just wanted to keep close to your chest, or like, what drove you to that?
I had always been taken by watercolors. I had a excellent teacher all the way back in middle school, Brenda Gentile, but she loved watercolors, and she always she saw that I naturally gravitated toward those. So I went that way. But yeah, I love the freedom that it gives you. Most of the panels, I mean, they don't have borders, so it's just very free form, and one panel flows into the next, and it gives you a good storytelling freedom. Actually, when I first started out, I did a few pages where I tried more traditional borders, and they just weren't working. They didn't quite mash up with the narrative. So that's how I got into the watercolor side of it.
Okay. I'm finding one of my favorite photos that you included in one of the emails. I love this because it does sort of mix the media a bit, has that whole sort of meta where you have like the page, and then the interaction between the page, and then the reader's version of the page.
Yes.
And I mean, what I don't know where this fits in the story, and we don't need, I don't think we want to spoil too much, but what kind of moment are you trying to capture here, and like what how did you conceive of this particular page with the dinosaurs?
So in this scene, River he's sitting on the floor next to his dad's armchair, and his dad is nearby, but he's he's starting to learn how to draw, and he's drawing one of his favorite dinosaurs, and at some point he goes into his own imaginary world, and to what I was saying earlier, this is one of those occasions where not having panel borders really helps me tell the narrative. I mean, this would be hard to do, in a traditional way. So yeah, I really wanted to show the transition of River, climbing up on the dinosaur, and he and the dinosaur kind of go off into the sunset together, and that evolves from the 2D page to the 3D imagination of River.
I think that was that scene, and that kind of idea of the creative pursuit, the creative outlet as the way to get away from this really uncomfortable situation at home, is something I absolutely can understand. I mean, probably even before I knew, that there was stuff that was going to come about in my life as a young, tween and teen that was going to make me very uncomfortable. I was so obsessed with fantasy and science fiction and comics and cartoons and stuff, and creating something else that would be, more safe or more comfortable, or, where people would be more accepting, or, just seeing him escape into that, especially wanting to share it too, like saying, I made this beautiful, fun, dinosaur drawing. What do you think, Dad? And the reaction is not good.
No.
It's such a stark difference from, the fantasy world and what the reality is. And I thought it was kind of sweet and heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I mean, I was just thinking about this as you said that, Zan, like finding comfort in fantasy and sci-fi and other genre fiction, and is such a part of all of our journeys as queer geeky genre fans. Like Doctor Who is that for me, having like the Doctor and having like this knowledge of all these rich worlds and remembering or finding them back. I mean, it was sort of a combination, right, of my imagination, but also memory and then experience from watching it. So I think that we all can relate to that. I know you had also some selections of some of the pages from this that you wanted to.
Yeah, let me see. I think I can share things. Let's see here.
I will do my stop sharing, and now let's see if you can. While Zan cues that up, though, Don, tell me. So you went to SCAD.
Yeah.
And I have one other work of yours that I do want to talk about at some point, which is Sparky the Sassy Android.
Okay, all right.
So we're gonna get to that at some point. But what else? What else sort of helped you germinate this whole work? And what you know, as you were deciding to tell the story, finding that path, like what other things or influences maybe kind of brought you there apart from some of the things you've mentioned, or was there anything else that led you there?
I'm glad you asked that. I love good stories. To me, the medium that story takes is all it almost doesn't matter in a way. I mean, like for example, I don't go into a comic book store and buy a comic just because it's a comic. I buy it because it's a good story. So just like how I love Sandman by Neil Gaiman, I love Cat on a Hot Tin Roof or A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams. I mean, to me, those are just both, they're great stories. They happen to be given to us in different ways. I really loved the freedom that a sequential narrative gave to me for this particular slice of life story. So we shall see. That's how I got there.
Let me add Zan's.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So yeah, these are just a bunch of different kind of details from the book.
There's a river and the sisters.
Mm-hmm. Such a cute kid. Yeah, that was one. Was that a completely original one, or was that one that was expanded?
This was one that we did specifically for the Kickstarter, I think.
Yeah, because I was really in love with that scene, and I thought that really sums up the interior exterior story. I thought.
Yeah.
So after a particularly difficult night with the family having fights.
Yeah, River's parents they're having a let's just say a physical altercation, and the kids are trying to call the police. And of course, Tiff, the younger sibling, she finally gets a hold of someone on the other line, and at that point she's like, well, what do I say? I mean, of course it's completely foreign to her, and it's something that a kid should never have to do, or they shouldn't be put into that situation. So yeah, again, there's serious moments like this, and they're interspersed with the humorous moments. There's Mitch.
Not a humorous moment.
No,
What the scene plays out in a it's not funny.
So what's going on here is Mitch's mother has passed away, and nobody shows up at the funeral, which it kind of tells you a little bit about how Mitch's mother treated other people. I mean, the only people there in attendance are the family. So of course they're all in an awkward situation, and they don't really know how to interact with one another. That's another one of those situations in life that I think probably everybody has at some point. Rosemary comes home. She comes home late from work one day, and she's been by the grocery store, and Mitch is sitting out on the front steps of the house, and she's carrying all these groceries, and the bag rips, and her groceries spill out into the driveway, and Mitch just keeps sitting there. And she goes into the house, and as she goes into the house, she's like, "Well, thanks for your help."
A real mensch.
Yeah.
Wow.
A happy moment between mother and son.
There's the aforementioned dinosaur drawing.
Yeah.
Setup. The She-Bop.
She-Bop.
There's you, where there's the grown-up River.
Yeah. My hair was a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. I like the going back and forth between them.
So so you do in sort of your own way find yourself bleeding into River throughout this. I'm gonna guess.
Yes, very much so. Especially early on when Zan and I first started talking about this, I found it a little strange because, I mean, at some point, Zan said, well, what do you see as River's character arc? And at first I was taken aback because I almost felt like, I was like, well, what, like my character arc? And I was like, okay, wait, no. I'm going to have to separate, myself a little bit from the fictional character of River. But yeah, like using this, for example, my dad used to go around and he would go to farmers markets and he would, sell, things that he had grown in his garden, one of which was watermelons. And in the South, it is often very hot and miserable. So, I remember just sitting around at farmers markets and, while he's going around trying to sell his wares, just sitting over, by the truck, kind of dying in the heat. This scene is another funny scene because a lady comes over to Mitch and she buys a watermelon and she just kind of offhandedly says, "Oh, I just want to let you know you've got the cutest little girl." And it takes a moment for Mitch to get, catch on to what she means. She's talking about his son. So then, he comes over to him and he's looking at River's hair. It's like, okay, yeah, we're going to the barber today. And he goes, to the barber shop and he gets like this awful military, haircut. But that doesn't help things, and it doesn't steer things in the direction that Mitch wants those to go in, because afterward, that's when the She-Bop scene happens, where River has his little pants routine to Cyndi Lauper. So
she had some cropped hair too. So maybe little River was thinking, well, I'm now like Cyndi Lauper with her shaved hair on the side.
It didn't make it into the book, but I remember I was really young. I was probably maybe 4 or 5 years old, but Prince's Purple Rain had just come out on video cassette. But I remember coming into the living room and my sisters had rented Purple Rain, and it was kind of like the naughty or bad movie to watch. But there's a scene in there where Apollonia takes her top off. She jumps into a lake. Well, I would come by and they would, try to cover up it's one of these picture tube TVs that sits on the floor. And they were, like my oldest sister was trying to get in front of the TV and cover it up so I couldn't see Apollonia's breasts. But little did she know at the time she should have been covering up Prince.
Oh, I wish our parents realized, or our siblings in this case, all of the missed opportunities and wrong choices that they made to shield us. So I noticed something. Oh, that's lovely. I didn't see that one. That's Mitch and the mom's sort of wedding picture there.
Yes.
And what's with the? I noticed some of the titles behind it. But are those the mother's books, or those Mitch's books, or combination?
They would probably be Rosemary's books. I was using my own books on my bookshelf, Farthest Shore, Tarzan ghost story. I love those. Mary Stewart, she's this wonderful fantasy writer.
Nice. I love it. I was going to say earlier, I noticed there's a lot of yellow in your work. Do you find yourself being drawn to that color for any particular reason, or is it just so happens that their hair are yellow and the backgrounds are yellow? What? Why does that seem like it's like the tonal center of a lot of the pages?
It seemed like for whatever reason, a lot of the pages were ending up with a lot of blue on them and a lot of gray. So I was kind of trying to bring in yellow to offset some of that, but also some of it as well was just that Rosemary's hair was blonde and River's hair was blonde, and then that's all.
Probably sort of draws your eyes in, and then you see more of it. And it's just this rich yellow. It's warm. It's actually what I got out of it in some of the scenes is sort of a contrast in that warmth of a scene versus like a blue or a gray that suggests something different. So that's neat to see. I can't wait to see it in context. I think that's the thing is once it all these moments, these flashes, once they're sort of in context, it'll all fit well together. I did want to I hope he's still watching. Dear friend and also a published creator from Northwest, Dave Abersole, gave a lovely comment. The book looks great.
Appreciate it, Dave.
Yay! We all love Dave, and we miss him. I know he's been hard at work trying to finish some projects up, and we really I miss his little podcast diversions that he did.
I'm one of the backers of his Tommy Dakota book with Vinny, and I'm totally excited about that because it's
oh yeah.
How often do you get a gay Western adventure? Not enough.
Definitely not enough. And an authentically gay Western romance, not like your Brokeback Mountain sort of whatever that, not to diss on that, but like this is a very positive, uplifting love story. I believe that they're telling. So I'm excited for that too as a backer. So Don, I want to talk about Sassy because this was such a little diversion for my day. I had quite a day, and I dipped in and out. I didn't go through too many, but I'm going to share this screen.
I appreciate the love for Sparky.
Yeah. Sparky. So see, that's the problem. They're both S's in my head, so they're like one neuron away.
One is Sparky. The descriptor of Sparky, and one is Sparky himself.
Well, I'm sure that he would not mind being called Sassy.
So when did you start this web comic? Hold on, almost there. Oh, there we go. When did this start? And sort of tell me a little bit about the creation and what tell us about Sparky.
I probably started the comic. It was probably around 2017, 2018, somewhere in there. Way back in college, I had created this character, Sparky the Sassy Android, and I never really knew what to do with. I had several false starts with it, but it never really felt right. But recently, probably about 5 years ago, I wrote the prose novel, and I felt like I needed something else on the side to just be a little release for me that wasn't, related to the main project that I was working on at the time. And it's very lighthearted. It's very whimsical. A lot of it is very gay friendly. There's a scene with Max Tesla there. He's a very flamboyant Han Solo, pretty much. But he's Sparky's buddy, and they travel the galaxies together, and they have fun misadventures, and they get drunk at Far Far Out Cantina, and they have evil intergalactic kittens from Ultima Thule that are kind of always on their trail. So yeah, and just over time, it took on a life of its own. The characters very much came into being naturally. I try to look for creative sources in pop culture. Like just for example, there's one character, Mokhtar of the Mogs, but he's very much based on Donald Trump and that crazy and it was just a whimsical thing that kind of took on a life of its own.
I also noticed as part of this, your other webcomic, Dapper Men in Love. So I can't not share that. I have a fondness for dapper men and a fondness for mustachioed gentlemen. And so, tell us about Dapper Men and how that kind of came about.
So I very much love the artwork of Edward Gorey. I'm sure a lot of people probably have seen the PBS intro for Mystery. So I was really young when I first saw that intro, and I want to say that I would tune in for that little short intro, and then I wouldn't actually watch the rest of the episode. But as I got older, I really started to experiment with, in addition to watercolors, with pen and ink a little bit more. So I had been doing the Sparky comics probably for about 2 years. And then I was like, I need to do something, with this love for Edward Gorey that I have. And so I started doing these little Dapper Men comics. And at first they were just for me. But then I started bringing them to some conventions around Atlanta, and people seemed to fall in love with them. And I have some up in a shop in Marietta, Georgia, which isn't too far from here. And people are loving them, which hey, I'm all for. I like that it's resonating with people.
No, that's outstanding. And so I'll have to. So I have a link. I am deficient in my link sharing because this is and this is up on the Facebook video link or the video description. It's on the YouTube link, but we're going to put it in the chat too for anyone who is following along at home. So there's the Sassy Sparky link for your web comics, and of course we will actually there's a nice quick way to do this URL. So if you do like to know more and support the Kickstarter, which we're going to come back to here in a second, A Home Without, northwestpress.com will get you there, and it's the shortest amount of characters to get you there. But the full link, if you are able to click it from the chat, I'm going to put that out here as well. And this is very important because it looks like there's only a few days left as of our recording. And so tell me about how the Kickstarter experience has been going and how much you love the nail-biting ending to the Kickstarter experience.
It's my favorite thing ever to, be sure. It's stressful. I mean, it's difficult. It's there's a positive side of it, which is that I see a lot of names again and again, a lot of people who come back and support the work because they want queer stories in the world. They want queer and trans stories to be told. And so they know that it's going to be quality stuff. They know they don't half-ass the design and the printing, make sure that everything looks pretty, the work is presented the best possible way it can be presented. And then just trying to get out there and overcome our shyness. I mean, I don't know about Dom, but I'm definitely a learned extrovert. I can be big and I'm big and bold around people I know, and it doesn't take me long to get to know people. But I can be a little shy and retiring. It's hard for me to toot my own horn, so it's better to be a publisher because I can certainly toot no entendres at all. I can definitely toot Don's horn because when you come across a project like this. I want to do what I can do to help raise the profile and help get it out there and have people know that it's worth checking out. And all they have to do is take a look at it, watch the video, see some samples.
Yeah.
I think they'll fall in love with it too. It's just a matter of getting out there. I'm glad that we're close to the goal. I mean, I'm optimistic. There's been some very, very generous supporters in the backing list, and we're just chugging along.
Right.
I wish there was a background of like runners. I could be running.
So,
I'm actually into the paper dolls from the book.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm
in the home. I'm in the home without right now.
I very much like that background. I was telling Zan a few days ago. I was recently in Savannah, Georgia. They had us. It was a small comic book convention, Savannah Comic Con. But I definitely have a new appreciation for people who do campaigns and fundraisers because wow. I was giving out ads the whole weekend, and you walk up to some people and they take your flyer and they smile and everything's good and they walk off. You walk up to the next person and they're just in their own little world and they just go about their their business, and you just have to say to yourself, like, okay, that's all right. I'll get the next person.
Yeah, it's always as a con goer and a few times as a con presenter / booth babe. It is always something you have to really, you don't want to mislead, but you also don't want to be like that person that just sort of sits there and just judges. Like, even if it's just nice little conversation, that actually really isn't a bad thing. I don't find I'm wasting people's time if I just go, hey, how are you? How was your con experience? But yeah, it's oh gosh, it can be quite a slog, especially if you are there trying to make your livelihood right. It's a Zan, I think the last convention I went to was with you here at Emerald City last year, not the most recent one.
Right, the December one.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was only there for the one day, and oh my goodness,
attended. I hear that the August one, because they usually have it in August, and I hear that the summer show was actually quite well attended.
Well, good.
So that's good. I kind of, nobody was doing conventions for a while there, and one of the things that I, try to do is try to time a book release or a campaign to a convention, so I can like be there and talk about it and share samples of it and all that stuff. And the paper dolls behind me were ones that Don came up with as a promotional item for the book, and so we worked on designing them, getting them all set, printed up a bunch of copies, handed out tons of them. Just because it's when you get something at a show, it's like, here's a postcard for something, like but a toy that you can play with. I'm wondering if we should maybe we'll just send a copy to all the backers. We'll send a paper doll set to them as well.
That would be
a little
cool.
surprise, a little bonus.
I'm wondering if someday that's going to be one of those things that's a much sought after item.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Like, there were X amount made and they were given out, at packs. And
I wish I'd numbered them.
Yeah.
When you get your Netflix deal, everyone will be fast and furiously trying to find them, right?
My heart stopper.
Oh, yeah. God, right? Oh. I want to go back to the Kickstarter real quick, just because we do want to really try to get some attention on some of these awesome levels. Let's call them. Let's see. So, of course, the obligatory big hug where you're like, yes, just take $1 and go and do good things, which I always appreciate including.
And I would be sad about the 0 backers on the big hugs, except people are getting the book, and they're, I find that's even more than a hug. I mean, well, the secret is the hugs will come anyway. Like you'll get a hug anyway. It's just unspoken. It's not listed in the items, but it is part of the other rewards too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
of course, $10 for the digital, which I think that's a great price point, and I think a lot of people, that's just, I know I've done that for many projects where I'm like, I want to support it. I also want to see it, but I don't want room on my bookshelf. It's that try to have the Murray Kondo, less stuff life, right? So I'm sure as someone who has to fulfill that, a lot easier than the physical fulfillment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's DRM free too, which is always nice. And the early bird, which by the way, early bird is actually no longer available, I believe. I think this might have been what I did, but this is the print edition, and again, it's delightfully priced for those of us who jumped on early. But and this, I assume there's no cap. The $20 print edition is the sort of the main one, right, for people who want the book.
Yep.
What else we got? A signed copy. Oh, gotta love the signed copy. Look at that, and it comes with digital. See, I love that. See, that's I wish back when the digital things started happening, more and more people had stuck to that. Like, you buy the thing and here's your PDF, because so nice.
They were doing that with movies for a while. Like I remember, I bought the DVD set of the Lord of the Rings, like Fellowship of the Ring, and I only ever watched the digital edition, but that was free. That was like, redeem this for an Apple edition of this, and now it's so much better than the DVD was. So works for me.
Yeah, I think the Marvel, for a long time I was going to try to go digital, and I had just they had that little code you ripped off and you got the copy, and then you're for the same price you get the digital for free, whereas the digital was actual. If you bought just the digital, it was the $3.99, but you don't get the physical. So I don't know. I really appreciate when they did that. I don't know if they still do that.
I was thinking of vinyl records as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, and still, when you get a small artist that says vinyl. Retailer pack, of course, for those of you who are retailers and want to put this in your store, which I am very pleased that there are 5 who have done that.
And shout out to the fine folks in Germany at Fusselschwarm who ordered 2 retailer packs for their distribution in Germany. There are, if you're in Europe and you want to buy gay comics, Fusselschwarm, FUSSELSCHWARM. I think it means frenzy of fur.
Okay.
I need to check them out. It sounds great. Oh my goodness! So you got 9 backers that did the original art package, which that is always such a treasure to get something originally created for you. So I hope once you make these, they somehow get shared digitally for people to marvel at. But that's really cool. I'm glad that that's an option, and that they did that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So those are the levels, and again, we're really close here. I feel like after this goes out, the campaign closes, I believe, Friday the 30th. Is that correct?
We have 2 extra days, so it's Sunday about midday.
Oh, bonus days, yes.
Bonus days, yes.
So, oh gosh, I'm breaking things. I'm gonna just get out of there before I break it anymore.
Don't break things.
So yeah, what's Don? Tell me what projects you have coming up next after this.
I have a sequel to my prose novel that I've already started writing, and I have probably about 10 more chapters that go along with A Home Without that could be elaborated on at some point. So we will see how A Home Without progresses, and we'll see what happens with those next 10 chapters.
Well, I am going to, now that you mention it, because of your prose work, I'm going to put your Amazon profile, which always is interesting. Hopefully this is you. I think this is.
It is.
Oh,
yes.
Good. And so I don't know if Amazon is your preferred place to link people to. I'm sure you have like a Goodreads presence and other vendors of choice, but at least we know, especially for those of you who like the Kindle editions. So you're going to have some sequels. Oh, but are these your prose, or are these graphic novels?
The Portraits of Familiar Strangers, that's the prose book, and then the 2 others are poetry anthologies.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. And I cannot click on it because life is just hard. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
We are going to make this difficult for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Make you work for it.
Oh, and today has been that. But like, I love that you have. I'm assuming that you did that cover. I love again the sort of mix of color, and especially those birds are beautiful. Oh,
Thank you.
very neat. Well, so I really am so glad you guys joined us today, and I really want this Kickstarter to succeed. I think our viewers and potentially listeners who tuned in will go check this out, and we're also on the Comic Bears stream right now as well. So that's going out to our Comic Bears brothers, which we would have had you on that show, except that I guess we're off for a couple weeks due to people being all over the world, as I've been for the last 3 weeks. So, anything last minute? Any last remarks, Zan or Don, before we close out?
I just want to say I appreciate and thank you to everybody who has contributed so far. If you have anybody that you think might be interested in the book, feel free to pass the info along. Bryan, I very much appreciate you having us on so we can talk about the book and get the information out there.
Oh, you're quite welcome. And Zan, what about you?
I would say to people that sharing is free. If there's something on the project that you like, if you think that you want to see it in the world, a lot of us are cash strapped, it's tough in the world these days, just share it out and say, hey, if you like watercolor, Autobio, gay, Bible Belt stories, this might be for you.
Get your Tennessee Williams on.
Exactly.
I love that. Oh, well put.
Yeah.
So yeah, Northwest Press. Northwestpress.com is again the easiest way. Just go there. It's right on the front page. It'll click through straight to the
giant dinosaur and a boy there. You click on it. It takes you to the place. Everything's great.
We're going to see it through.
Excellent. And Don and Zan, thank you so much for being on. Again, this is a Home Without. We really hope that everyone goes and checks us out, and you have precious few days left to be on that initial printing and get those awesome. And I'm guessing there are still a few original art packages left. Is that right?
So what we're doing is we actually originally had just 5, and then we got more than 5 backers. So now there's 9. If we get past 10, then we have going to be adding 5 more pieces. Everyone's going to be able to vote on which piece they want to have. And if they don't get their first choice, well, what do you want in your second choice? So everyone's going to get something that they really want to have. So we're really excited about that.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you all for being here. Good luck with the project. And thanks for everyone for listening and tuning in.
Yay. Thanks for having us on.